Right, here's a quick video. I've got one of these that's completely dead, doesn't work. Now what's happened is something moved around inside, so I think I know what it is. I think the transformer has just slightly broke free of its mounting. So what that has done, unfortunately, is touched the back of the circuit board with the LEDs on it and fried it. Thing is, these LED circuit boards come in 4 pieces. So with any luck, it's the one it touched and everything that's connected in series after it that's dead. So that would be 2 boards. So I'm going to make this useful again. My plan is to completely strip it down, take off the 2 ball, test it with the 2 balls disconnected. If I have life in the other 2, then what's going to happen is I'm going to turn it into a 50cm one, rather than just throw it in the bin. So going through with that, I shall show you little clips of what I've done. But I'm not just going to turn it into a 50cm one. There's a couple of extra little bits I'm putting in, which you shall see. Right, I've tested the boards. 2 boards are completely dead. One works fine and one's got a few LEDs out, so I can make this work. What I've done now is I've taken the original 1 metre tube and I've cut it in half. Well, slightly just over half actually. This section we're not using except for templates, because obviously you've got your DMX in and out and your control panel, and then underneath were the 4 holes for mounting the transformer. So logic would say I use that one, but when I cut it, lo and behold, cut it just slightly on the wrong side of the line, so that one is a fraction too short. This one just right on the length. So what I've got to do is transpose this to here and the holes there. Now what I've done is I've gone to did a dry run, laid the stuff out in it, marked, and just laid the stuff dryly in there to see where it's going to go, so I can just play around the positioning. The other bits I'm adding is, first of all, something plain and simple, a little on-off switch. You might be wondering why, because you just plug it in, because I'm adding battery pack to it as well. Therefore, this comes for the battery pack. So the point is, it now becomes a completely wireless, rechargeable light. Also, I'm probably not going to cut these holes for the DMX into it, because I'm probably not going to put that in, because what I've got is a wireless DMX transceiver that I'm going to put in as well. So it's going to become wireless DMX, battery powered, and down to 50 centimeters. Obviously the switch will be for turning on and off the battery pack, and obviously when I want to charge the battery pack I'd have to use the switch. But so far what I've managed to do is mark out with that for the control panel, which the control panel here is just that. So obviously that goes in there. I've mounted the fixing drill hole there and there for the fixing, and drilled the holes for the buttons and cut out the window. Now this is aluminium. What I've had to use was like a Dremel rotary tool to cut that out, because it was absolutely a pain in the backside to do. But that's that. So that's why I'm probably opting not to put the other DMX in. Just go with the wireless DMX. I've drilled the holes for the transformer. I mean, the batteries I'm going to be using are lithium ion, because the whole thing, the transformer is 12 volts, so it runs on 12 volt. So what I've got is 2 battery packs that I've sourced out. Actually, to be honest with you, I already had them. They were an old laptop, so I took the batteries out of that because they use lithium ion cells, which are 3.7 volts each. So when you configure them properly, like that, that's 3 of them together. That gives me 12 volts. Rechargeable lithium ion. So I can place that. I've marked out where the batteries are going, in there like so, underneath it all. Because I want to put 2 battery packs in this for longevity, the other one I'm going to configure long ways, not as opposed to stacking it up in a triangle shape. It's going to be end to end, and it's going to fit here. So I'll have 2 battery packs. This one itself is about 1.5 amps, so it's 1,500 milliamps. But this is not the one I'm actually using. I'm using one that's got 5 cells, so it's got 3 along the bottom and then 2 along the top, which just fits in there. That one itself is just about 3,000 milliamps. 3,000 milliamps, and then the long one there, end on end, that is again 1.5 milliamps. So we're looking at about 4.5 amp hours of battery life I'm going to put in this. I did a test with a drill battery, to be honest with you, which is basically this, one of these, exactly the same as this, except in a casing to go into my drill. I powered that, a full charge on that, and that was 1.5 amp hours, and that lasted, with the 2 lights, 3.5 hours. So 3.5 hours on that. I should be getting on a full charge with this easily 6 to 7 hours plus. Taking into account I'm going to be running the DMX transmitter as well, it should be more than enough for a gig. But if the battery side of this works out well, I've got more. I'm going to do the other meter bar I've got. I'm going to add the battery packs to that and see how that goes. Make them completely wireless. The idea is obviously so I can charge them up, because sometimes in a venue you just get that odd spot that you cannot run power to very easily, and it's a pain in the backside. So when I've got the other holes that I need to drill out for the wireless transceiver, and obviously for a switch, once I've drilled those out and put them in, I shall show you some more. Right, been stripped down. It's come down to these parts. I've got 2 LED bulbs working, so that's fine. It's going to be a 50cm one. I've already mounted the switch. Put a bit of tape under there just to insulate the underneath of the metal housing against where the power supply goes. Although it doesn't actually touch, just being doubly on the shore. This is the control panel, which I've got the coals cut for here. This is the added circuit I'm going to add. This is the DMX wireless transceiver board. 4 cable connection, 5 volt positive, 5 volt negative. Then you've got positive of the DMX signal and negative of the DMX signal. Very easy to work with. Once it's in, it's got a single button operation. And basically all you do is you select the channel, which means red, and then you push to cycle through the colours till the fixtures you want are all on the same colour. Then they just sync up automatically. So that I will be also putting some electrical tape on, basically just to insulate the board both sides, just from any accidental touching. That there is the connector for this, which is the aerial. Obviously that goes in this end, goes through this little hole here, and then little aerial like you get on a router can go on it. But so I'm going to insulate these up, start piecing it back together, and then we'll get some more shots. Right, we're almost done. As you can see inside now, we have battery pack number 1. I've had to move the battery packs around just because of other bits. The control circuit, power transformer, battery number 2, and that is the on-off switch for the battery pack, and power input, and that's the aerial for this little circuit board here, which is the DMX control one that I showed you earlier. What I've also done is put insulating tape just on the backs of stuff, just so nothing can short whatsoever. And the same with the LED bulbs, because obviously the LEDs stick out here. This one goes at this end here. I've flattened all of the little bits from the LEDs that stick up, insulated them all, so there's no chance of any of them poking into any of this here. All I've got left to do is now put these back in here, put the ends on, shorten down the plastic cover, and then basically it's done, and charge it up. But as you can see, even with this, turn on the power switch, you get the power light there for the transmitter, and obviously it's on. That's just running off a battery at the moment. Let's assemble it all up. Next shot, you should be able to see it all going. Right, well you can see it's working, and it's all done. It's having a little trouble focusing because of the brightness. It hasn't gone exactly as planned. Yes, it's working fine on the battery, charges no problem. What I found out was that the DMX side of the circuitry, which you can see on the display, which is switched off here, with the buttons just there. The DMX side of it, when the initial problem that fried the bar, which made me cut it down to half the size, happened, it also damaged the DMX side of the transmission and receiving capabilities of the actual board in here.
the actual DMX receiver I've tested, that receives DMX and transmits DMX no problem. So what it actually is this light fixture itself, even if I put the sockets in, is no longer capable of receiving or transmitting DMX, which is unfortunate, but it still does mean I've still got a battery powered 50cm light that I can use for either internal sequences like this, or I can just set for either red, green, blue, or any mix of the RGB colours via the onboard programming, which is still going to come in very useful. I'll turn it off, as you can see from there. I'll switch it on, that comes on, the display lights up, and I can still go through any of the onboard programs. It's just, unfortunately, it's no longer capable of anything DMX, which is a shame. But I'm still not going to knock it, because where originally I had a light that was absolutely no use at all, completely dead, I've now got a 50cm still working, still very useful light.